In this tutorial, we're going to talk about downloading shows. We used to charge money for the shows, but we decided to just let everybody download them and have them for free. And so in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can do that. And so let's get started with that. As always, we're starting out looking at the Help section here, but we'll go from the Help tab over here to the Shows tab. I've added another tab right here, this one that's purple, and that's how you're going to do the downloads. So let's click on that and let me show you how it works. Now, if you haven't logged in before, you'll see this window, and you'll be able to just click here and put in your username and password. If you don't yet have a username or password and you want one, just click this blue button here. What that'll do is it'll open up an email, and it'll be addressed to me, and the subject line will already be filled out for you. So all you have to do is put in your first name, your last name, your email address, and then right here, tell us what password you'd like. If you don't tell us what password you want, we'll just generate some random password characters for you, and you can use those. But if you have one in mind that would be easy for you to remember, you can just type it there so we know what it is, and we'll make it your password as long as nobody else has got that same password. So that's how you can request a password. And then once I receive the email, I'll set you up, and then I'll email you back with your password. Now, I already set one up for somebody here, a guy named Steve Samchuk. And I'll just paste in his password right here. If you forget your password, just click here and it'll actually email you a password. So anyway, let me go ahead and log in. Now when you first get in here, let me explain what you're seeing. You got all these folders, and each folder that you see here has some shows in it. So all the shows that are between 100 and 199 are in this folder. All those between 200 and 299 are there. And that's how you would find them. You can just click on this little blue triangle, and that'll show you what the shows are. You'll notice that each one of the shows is numbered. And when you're either looking in the Smart Search, you can find the number for the show that you selected right here. I'll click on this Artie Shaw Legacy show, 1094, 1094. When you're looking at the overview, you can also see the show numbers here in this left-hand column. And that works for any of these playlists. They all will show you that overview. It'll be colored a little differently, but it's basically the same. So this is where you would get the show number. You can see those here as well. So whenever you pick a show that you want, the show will have the number, and then it'll end with .zip. So the zip means that the entire show has been compressed, giving it a slightly smaller size. You'll notice the size of the shows, they all run around between 50 and 55 megabytes. And so all you have to do is just click on one of those. I'll just click on number 115 here, and it tells us that the download began. Now, once the download completes, and of course how quickly you can download 54 megabytes, or 54.69 in this case, will depend upon your connection speed. So if you're not connected to with a very fast internet connection, or if our server happens to be really busy, then you may have a while to wait. But as soon as it's done, it'll just land on your desktop, and it'll be right here. Here's the show right there that we just downloaded, 115.zip. Now let me go ahead and just unzip that. I'm just going to double click on that, and so it is expanding it. I must done it twice, and so it showed up 2 times. And here's a folder with that number, 115. And when you look inside, you'll see that there are these different segments. And each segment will correspond to the show playlist here. If you look at the playlist of a show, you'll notice that there's these commercial cues that are inserted every once in a while. You see how I'm pointing to them here? Now, the way that this works is that, let me actually find another one where commercial cues have a few more breaks between them. And we'll use this one. So in this one you've got 2 songs, Bye Bye Blues by the Mills Brothers and Summertime. And then there's a commercial cue. In the old days, back when Fred was recording these shows and sending them out to radio stations, the radio stations would receive a reel-to-reel tape. And they'd thread that up on their reel-to-reel tape deck, and then they'd play the show, and it would have all the segments on it. But whenever Fred wanted to let the radio stations know that they could run a commercial, he'd finish his little monologue, whatever he was saying after the last track, with "on swing thing." And as soon as he said that, then he'd pause for 1 or 2 seconds, and then he'd continue. That way the radio stations would have time to pull down the pause lever on their old tape machines and run some commercials, and then when the spots were done, then they'd unpause the machine and let the show continue. Well, we decided to digitize the entire library of Swing Thing shows. That means that all 1006 shows were transferred from tape into digital format. And when we did that, we made the MP3s out of each segment. So every time he said commercial cue, that would be the end of a segment. So here you got 2 songs and a commercial cue. Here you got 2 songs, My Heart Belongs to Daddy and A Slow Boat to China, and then another break. So at every one of these commercial cue breaks, that would be the end of one of those MP3 segments. Now we did that to make it easier for you to burn these to a CD, because you can just, any software that you have that can burn audio CDs, you could just drag all of these MP3 files, like I've got selected here, right onto the disk, and then that would put them in the proper order. And then when you go to play that that CD, you'd be able to skip ahead or skip back, by using the skip to next track feature of your player. And so that's why we did it that way. So that's why a show is broken up into all these segments. And typically there's 9, sometimes there's 8, occasionally there's 10, but most of the time there's 9 segments per show. Down here, by the way, every one of these also comes with a playlist. I'll open this one up so you can see what it looks like. There's a playlist right there. That way you can print it out if you want, and then you can follow along as Fred does the show if that's what you want to do. So whenever you download a show, it'll always come as a zip file, and then double click that, and then you'll get the folder that has the show segments in it. Pretty simple, really. Let's go back here to the download. So that's how you would download an individual show. You just open this up, whichever folder you want, click once on the show, and then it'll start to download. Another way that you can do this is, let's say that you want to download, maybe you want to download the entire folder. You may want to collect the entire library. By the way, the entire library, if you download everything, is almost 60 gigabytes. So if you're going to do that, you better have a fairly good sized hard drive place to put them. You can download an entire folder all at once. You don't have to go through and click each show individually. The way that you would do that is, let's say we wanted to download everything in the 200 folder. You could just click this little checkbox here, and that would then you click this zip download, and when you do that, it will then compress this folder so it'll be a bunch of zip files inside of a zip file, and that'll download to your desktop. Now, when you do it this way, when you use the checkbox, what it does is it gives these a generic name. So the file that you download will be called archive.zip, and when you open it up, it would actually be the folder that you chose. You can choose multiple folders at once if you'd like, and then if we were to do that, let's see, I don't want to do a huge download here while we're waiting, but this would be a fairly small one. So I'll just choose maybe this one and this one together. So 200 and 400, and then I'll click on zip download. Now it says that the download has started. So if we come back over here, and let me just back up a notch here. Right here is this archive.zip, and this is what it's currently downloading. Now I usually look and see if this number is continuing to change, because the download might take a little while. And then what you can do is when it's done downloading, you can double click on that archive, and it'll unarchive it. And then when that's done, okay, it says it couldn't do it. Oh, okay. You see here this number is getting bigger. It was still actually downloading. This is one of the problems that you'll have, is that in order to, if you try to do this and it says it can't, it's probably because it's still in the process of downloading. So just wait a little while. You can look at the size here, and let's double click that again and see if it'll do it now. Okay, it looks like it was going to do it. And so, oh, no, maybe not. Yeah, see, the number keeps growing. So it's just having a hard time kind of keeping up with this here. Now, sometimes you can just tell by watching the numbers. You'll see them actually going up and down. But if you're not sure, just select a different file and come back to it and check and see if the numbers have changed. That's usually a good way to tell. Well, let's try this one again. It will give an error unless it's finished downloading the entire, collection. Let's see if it's going to work this time. I notice the number here is already higher. It's 860. Okay, well, it looks like it did come in. And here's that archive unzipped. And then inside of that are these two folders, the two folders you wanted. Now, of course, you'd have to double click one of these if you want that to unzip itself. So when we unzip the archive, it just unzipped the folders, but their contents still would need to be unzipped. So that's how you can download more than one folder at a time. Now you may notice down here there's one folder 12200, which is way out of sequence. It's a much higher number than anything else. Now, the reason for that, I'm just going to double click that folder and we'll be able to see what's inside of it. Here you've got some shows that are numbered differently. Now, this is a special set of programs that Fred did for New Year's Eve called the New Year's Eve Dance Party. And you can look that up here if you want. We can just come in here and I'll just go Dance Party and tell it to do the search. And here you can see that we've got a New Year's Eve Dance Party number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, the way that the New Year's Eve Dance Party is handled is a little different. This is meant to play so that at the very stroke of midnight, Fred would be able to say Happy New Year right at the stroke of midnight. And so there's some special instructions that go with this, and those instructions are included if you download any of those files. So we'll go back to download shows and Come back over here, and there are those shows there, and I'll just choose this first one. I'll tell it to download. All right, and we can see it coming in down here. Just click away from it a little bit till I'm sure that we got the whole thing. Okay, I think we did. Double click that. No, I don't think it was quite ready yet. Yeah, it's 83.4 now. These segments are a little bit longer. All right, there it is. So the first segment of that show 12201, that one would have this playlist file attached, and if we look at that, you can see here that there's a very important notice at the bottom. I don't know if you can read it at this size or not. I don't know if I can make that bigger or not. No, I can't. But you know, basically it's just letting you know that you've got part 1 of 6, and it gives commercial cues, and then it would go directly into the next part, part 2, and it tells you what that number would be. And here it tells you that the last part, when you get to part number 6, and that would be, coming back over here, that would be this one right here. When you get to that one, that's kind of a special one. You want to play that, you want to start playing that one at exactly 11:45 p.m. because that is timed, is designed to time out exactly 15 minutes later when Fred can then say Happy New Year. So that's why we've got that there. All right, so that pretty much covers how to do those downloads. I can't think of anything else to tell you. Just remember that if you choose to download folders, and if you were to check every one of these folders, you'd be waiting a while. You know, the total size, as I mentioned before, for the entire library is almost 60 gigabytes. That's a lot. Most people, they would be waiting days to download that, unless you've got a really super fast connection, and then you might get it within a matter of hours. But that's just you know, up to the you know, the gods of the internet at the time. So that's it for this tutorial on how to download shows.